Hello and congratulations, Consul General Carlos Gonzalez Gutierrez. I want to just make sure that I take the time to thank you for being somebody that is accessible and doing a great job since I've gotten here at, talking to me as a council member about the condition of the Mexicano here in LA, but also taking the time to have conversations with us about the condition of the Chicano and our relationship to Mexico over there, and the importance of our role too, and how much we impact Mexico as it pertains to remittances, and how really we could be better countries if we both, found that better way of never letting go and remembering that we're just as much a part of each other regardless of what side of the border that we're on. And I really have appreciated those candid conversations with you on how to improve both our lives, right? And I also want to say that I appreciate you alluding to the diversity of the council today and recognizing that we are not the generation of 187. In fact, I was 10 years old when that was the water cooler conversation in my family about why don't they like us if all we do is work, right? And I just want to bring up that I know for me, growing up in that environment at a very young age and being cognizant, I stand here reminding myself of what we used to talk about and how that felt. And therefore, I just kind of want to say Mexico is changing, and the Chicanos on this side are different too. Having a woman president shows that you can't just call all of the men in our community a bunch of machos anymore, right? El machismo ya se está yendo, poco a poquito, esperemos. But also, for me, now that I am in this position, and because I have that historical context, you can best bet that I am never going to let anybody put rocks in our green space to keep our children from playing soccer. I am going to continue to say that in our community, it's about plaza culture, and that's why we have lowrider shows, right? And in addition to that, if we're gonna have a conversation about leaf blowers and its impact about the environment, let's talk about the environment that these gardeners go home to and the land use decisions in their communities before we really touch on banning something like a leaf blower. And don't even get me started on other conversations we're having here about rodeos, right? So thank you, and congratulations. Look forward to working with you to make sure that the Mexicano, Chicano, Pocho condition continues to be well and alive in Los Angeles.
Guys, come on up here. Yeah, come on. Well, yeah. Fill in the whole area here. You're disrupting the meeting. Be quiet. Incredible support that they get from the administrators, the coaches, and the other support, the staff members of North Hollywood High School.
We are joined here today by the LA Galaxy mascot, Cosmo. Come on up here, Cosmo. And some members of the East Side Riders. East Side Riders, a great organization in Watts and the larger area, in celebration of the partnership and community that the LA Galaxy Foundation serves in our community. Right? Would you come right here, Cosmo? I'll say it before I hear it later in public comment. I found the only guy with a bigger head than me. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Price. Didn't see you on the queue.
16, because my wife's employer has worked with applicants on these items. Item 16.
Okay, we will note that Mr. Price is recused on item 16 when we get to that. Okay, I'm going to read some names. There are one or two people who are typically do this have signed up with a bunch of juvenile and offensive names on this list. I am not going to read the names that you put on this list. Yes, I'm looking at you. and you, Mr. Herman, I'm looking at you too, because you two typically do this. So I'm going to read the names that are names, and if I haven't called you when we're done, we'll give people a chance to come up. But I'm not going to read the offensive names. So Brenda Lee, and you're going to go last too, because I'm not reading the offensive names. Brenda Lee, AJ, Linda Mejia, Arnold Sachs, Stacy Segarra Bollinger, Daniel Gus. If I've heard your name, please, you can line up on the left side. I don't know who's yelling out, but there's no yelling out allowed.
Because I'm a queer and a faggot, you don't
Is that the only
retaliate
name
like
you
that.
signed up on, sir? Can I cross off half these other names? How many names did you sign up under today,
Well,
sir?
how many names did you ask me to sign up? I signed up as Brenda Lee, you cunt.
Okay, you're allowed to sign up under one name. Signing up under the others is a disruption and will get you thrown out of this meeting. So, Brenda Lee, would you please go ahead and speak which items you wish to speak on?
Well, due to the circumstances in CD 15,
Start his clock at 3 minutes.
the land use management under Mark Queasy, Wheezy, Cheesy, under section 1222 is a racist fucking piece of shit expanding trucking related use in Wilmington Harbor. Stop being a racist and let Brenda Lee be heard. There's so much commotion. I'm getting confused on what I'm doing, but let me go to item number 11 on the agenda.
Speaker, I believe you're speaking on item number 1. The items available for public comment are items 11 through 18.
Madam Speaker, I wish to speak on item 1 through 17 in my non-agenda public
You
comment.
can speak on items 11 through 18. If you want to speak on item 1, you can do that in your general public comment.
And Bob Bloomfield said that in Council District 3, lying and sleeping and storing my chinchero on a goddamn street is offensive. That's bad business. Because, you know, a lot of homeless people, when I was homeless, and you let Weezer and Herbie and that other fucking dead bitch, law bong, 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 kick me into a jail just because I was retaliated by you fuckers. It gives you no right to obstruct me from a public right-of-way. I demand you fix the criminal courthouse sidewalks because those ficus trees are uplifting the goddamn right-of-way, you jackass. And what about all those fucking homeless people the mayor promised to put in a condominium downtown for $4,000 a month? Get those fuckers in there. They're blocking the sidewalk. It's not safe for a faggot like me, a simplified fucking faggot, you fucking cunt. Now, I'm gonna go into all the items, like I said. What about in Mr. Price? Mr. Price and Miss Park in CD 11 also brought up an issue about item 13 that they don't want a white nigger too like me sleeping on the fucking sidewalk and street in a tent. Well, that's offensive. You are not following the order of that fucking Judge Carter who said, I want an audit, and you discriminated against Mr. Mejia because he demanded subpoenas for you white motherfucking politicians. And I'm talking about you, Juju, who keep telling us that we're offensive. You're wrong, Bob. You're totally wrong. I'm Jesus Christ, and you niggers want to put me on a tree and sacrifice my sleeping, my lying, and my sitting on a public sidewalk? There's something wrong here. There's something definitely wrong here. I'm only a faggot once in this life. I'm only a bitch because I want to be one. And I'm definitely want to be a cunt because I choose to. Now
You have 1 minute for your general public comment.
I think that was general public comment. It
No,
wasn't on any items.
no. This is my non-agenda public comment, you racist piece of shit, because you told those people about the canines, and you're wrong. In the city of Downey, for anyone listening, they got a restaurant there called Oorah Bastards. And the bastard's name is not offensive. It's a protective activity of free speech
to name your fucking restaurant Bastard, you bastards. And so now you're telling the persons or people with their K9s that Bob said, oh no, they represent the Nazi and they shouldn't have a business with the city of LA. Well, you know what, Bob? You're a fucking racist. You keep sending those bombs to harm people in Hamas and Palestine, so stop being a fucking hypocrite. 42 U.S.C. 1983 politely. Fuck you, Jew.
Okay. Next speaker.
Good morning. My name is Terrence C. Daniels. I signed up under Terrence C. Daniels, and I would like to speak to general comment.
Okay, you'll have 1 minute.
Thank you. My name is Terrence C. Daniels. I am a registered and voting member of CD13. I have unjustly been forced into homelessness. For the last over a year, I've been sleeping in my car, and the last 33 days of that year, I have been left on the side of the road to die. I have not been checked on. I have gotten several tickets, and I've been threatened to have my car towed in this office. I love that Councilwoman Rodriguez opened this house and called it the Councilor General's house. This is the people's house, and I am the people. I'm not leaving this chamber until a member of CD13 talks to me and resolves my issues, and a member from the mayor's office, the mayor's administration, resolves my issue. Y'all have unjustly, unlawfully, and contrary to your public policy, rendered me homeless. It's unacceptable, and we're going to address that issue today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Sir, which name that I called did you sign up under?
Well, Bob, I mean, I signed up as the Goat Eagle's Nest, your favorite German word, you dumb
Okay, I
fuck.
did not call that name, so
Yes,
you need to sit down. I did not call Goat Eagle's Nest.
Goat Eagle's Nest.
Did not call that name. Sit
And-
down, sir.
and other
Sit
names.
down or you'll be removed. I did not call your name. You know the process. You come every day. Next speaker.
For the record, I think you said I'm not calling this name, but then pointed at Spindler and asked him to come up. So why aren't you letting him speak?
I'm not going to have a discussion with you. Go ahead.
Which items would you like to speak on?
All items in general public comment.
Okay, that's items 11 through 18. You'll have 3 minutes and 1 minute for general public
Great.
comment.
And for the record, this body has just committed several Brown Act violations and violated the anonymity of people, and also invited a speaker to come up and then said I didn't
Speaker,
call
you
you.
Which item are you
discuss
talking
that in
to?
general public
You need to
comment.
speak
Great,
to
I'm
the
talking
items.
about 4118 right now, because that's got 3 different agenda items here. Our expansions of 4118. We have a report out. $3 million, not counting LAPD and sworn officer overtime. A lot of people have been displaced. 2 people have been housed. Now, an argument that we heard from Councilmember Blumenfeld of District 3 when this body was debating enacting 4118 was that this is an accessibility issue. This isn't about criminalizing poverty. This is to make our sidewalks accessible. Mr. Blumenfeld said this. Now, a while back, I had to call CD2's office to complain about California exempt plates vehicles being parked on the sidewalk in District 2 near a school. And when I mentioned 4118 and the lack of accessibility, what did they say to me? Oh, ma'am, 4118 has nothing to do with accessibility. It's a ban against sitting and sleeping and lying in certain places. So maybe, Mr. Blumenfeld, you and Mr. Krikorian could chat a little bit about what 4118 is actually about. Because when you were passing that law, you insisted it was about accessibility. Never mind that the sidewalks are shit and there's no accessibility. So it's kind of a joke to think you actually give a fuck
Speaker,
about
you should move on to your next
I'm
item.
talking about 4118. How many motions are there? Like 3 motions to expand 4118? Yeah? So that's what I'm talking about right now. And Mr. Blumenfeld said it was about accessibility. CD2 said it has nothing to do with accessibility. So now we have that report back, and not only do we know that it doesn't make things more accessible, it doesn't help get people into housing, it actually makes the problem a lot worse. We had some other items on this agenda available for comment, like Councilwoman Park and the indictee, Corinne Price. Well, that's another 4118 one. This agenda is mostly just criminalizing poor people. We're going to replace a gate at the fire station. Thank goodness. It's really important that we keep our fire department up and running to the best of the ability we can, because that's a matter of safety. It would be great if this body cared more about safety of unhoused residents. Sabes lo que GNL informa. El costo es de $3 millones y solo 2 personas alojadas. Sabes, es tu culpa, consejo. Tomaste nuestro dinero, se lo diste a la policía y ahora sufrimos de vivir en la calle sin un mínimo de seguridad. Cuando la pobreza es criminalizada, no ayuda a resolver el problema, solo empeora todo. 10 personas esta noche morirán afuera. Bien consejo, error aquí. Counsel, what do you have to say? Eres el jefe, todo apesta. You're in charge, everything sucks. Lo que hace no está bien. Just repeal 4118. And a big fuck you to Kevin De Leon. You too, Nithya.
What the fuck is going on? Is everybody sound asleep? Now, number 17 refers to L.A. Best versus, I've talked about this item about 20,000 times. If you don't use the periods, then you're not going to get any more federal funding. The federal government, I do believe, even though Joe Biden is out to lunch for about the next 20 years, that the federal government and Congress does not recognize law. Law is the in French, but it's not. This is not a French item. This is about L.A. versus L period A period. If you don't put the periods in, then you don't get any federal money. Willie Brown was double-crossed, and he controls a lot of the money that comes to the county.
You have 1 minute for public comment.
Before you do your public comment, I'm going to read some more names so people can line up. Daniel Gus, Rob Kwan, Adam Smith, Brett, Aaron M., Chris Reel, Tina Butts, Carla Orlandoff, Christopher Gino, Lisa Cherry Paulina. If you've heard your name, feel free to line up. And Mr. Sachs, you have 1 minute for general public comment.
Okay, thank you. Very uplifting conversation, very uplifting presentation. I don't know why you didn't use those fathead posters outside to announce that you're going to have the goddamn mariachis in the city council chambers. The location is some of the most racist arguments, discussions that have ever occurred in this whole country. You've had the KKK here. You had an African American representing the finest of the KKK. You have this knucklehead running around with swastikas on. It's so fucked up. How the hell can you sit here as Americans and allow this shit to happen? This is supposed to be a city council chambers. It's not a trash dump, is it? It's worse than a trash dump. It's unbelievable. You're so racist, anti-Semitic, you don't recognize anything. All you want to do is fuck.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Sachs. Next speaker.
Testing, great. Just so you know, I'm waiting for the Sergeant at Arms, the watch commander. I was threatened by your steroid head, Sergeant at Arms. So I strongly suggest you get the watch commander down here unless you want another lawsuit for threatening a journalist, for blocking my ingress and egress.
Mr. Gus, we can start would you like to speak on the items, or would you like to continue with your general public comment?
You didn't ask which items I want.
Started speaking. Which items would you like to speak on?
Well, why is the clock running? I would like to speak. You'll have to give me a little more time to pull up my notes because I'm disabled, as you can see, Ms. Isagari. I assume you're not going to rush.
Which items would you like to speak on?
Yeah, I'm disabled unless you want to see the surgery, so I need time to actually pull up the photos to answer your question, unless you would like an ADA lawsuit, ma'am, and a bar complaint. I would like to speak in this meeting on item 15. I would like to speak in this meeting, you see how it goes, on item 16. Sorry, I'm disabled, Ms. Isagiri. I would like to speak in this meeting on item 18.
Okay, we'll start your clock at
I'm
3
not
minutes.
done
You'll
yet.
have 3 minutes.
I'm not done answering your question.
You'll have 3 minutes for your items.
For the items? Okay, 3 minutes for the items and then 1 minute for general public comment, unless you're abusing your authority, ma'am. Item number 15, see, that's how you deal with a corrupt government. That's how you deal with a corrupt government. A state bar complaint. Item 15, this is about some damage to a fire department. I'd like to know if this damage was caused by a LAFD brass named Katie Kepner, whether or not she was in a car chase with an LAPD detective named Scarlett Martinez. Because the chief of police and the chief of the fire department know that they were in some sort of vehicular pursuit of one another.
Speaker, please speak to the agenda item. You're
Yes,
off topic.
No, I'm not. I'm asking if this damage was caused by that car chase between an LAFD commander level person and an LAPD detective. And the more you interrupt my public speech, the more you're going to pile it up for your state bar complaint. And you'll restore my time. 16, I think there's a better use of the millions of dollars you've paid to LA Animal Services. They're not killing animals, apparently, except that 50% of the kills actually take place in CD8. So I think the money that you have for animal services should go to Destination Crenshaw. You see, I'm a fair-minded guy, or you're lying about killing animals. 50%, Council District 8, 50% of the animals that are killed in animal services are killed in Mr. Harris Dawson's district. Item 18, I love this, the mayor's veto. I actually think that the veto should be applied to animal services and also the Parks Department because Mr. Krikorian acknowledged gross negligently maintained parks and it put me in an operating table for a bone fusion surgery. So I think Mayor Bass should veto for item number 18 the budget for the parks until we find out about this knowingly, negligently maintained department. And also, animal services. You're telling the media you don't kill animals, but you actually do. And then you're calling it a conspiracy theory. I think Mayor Bass should veto these items with item number 8. And I don't know, should I start my general public comment now? How much time is left, Ms. City
You'll
Attorney?
have 1 minute for your general public comment.
Okay, well, I'm holding on to my 18 seconds because I don't yield the 18 seconds back.
Please start his clock.
I don't yield the 18 seconds. I'm going to use those 18 seconds to let people know that this is how you hold a corrupt government accountable. You know the rules, you call them out, and you know the weak point. Lawsuits, because you can't handle any more lawsuits, and a state bar complaint against her for cutting me off last week when I mentioned the negligence. Now I'll start my 1 minute of general public comment. Council members, Mayor Bass has a detailed plan to kill hundreds of healthy adoptable animals according to an email authorized and approved by Stacey Daines, and it was known by Ms. Hernandez and Mr. Lee and Ms. Hutt. But your Animal Services Commissioner went on Channel 4 and lied about it to Tracy Leung, lied about it to Leo Stallworth on Channel 7, lied about it to KTLA and KTTV. So you have an employee that is absolutely, irrefutably lying to the media, and then when I publish this, calls it a conspiracy theory. You guys are setting yourself up to be the fall guys for incompetence, for mismanagement, and lying to the media. Where are you guys? And that's how you manage a renegade, obnoxious, and racist deputy city attorney.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker.
My name is Chris Reel. I'm an organizer with LA Street Care and Mutual Aid. The 4118 report confirmed what we've long known. Outreach related to, the ordinance is an abject failure, first of all, by every measure. Outreach related to 4118 resulted in housing just 2 people in 3 years. Some of you might argue that 4118 isn't a housing ordinance, and that's true. It just depletes what little services are available. and it makes it that much more difficult to connect people to housing and services when you banish them. How are their case managers supposed to find them? The real point of 4118 is criminalization, which is ironic considering how many criminals sitting in this horseshoe have voted for 4118, which criminalizes people for simply existing in a public space. 4118 arrests doubled from 2022 to 2023, and police use it to harass people. 4118 is a racist ordinance. So far in 2024, 22% of 4118 arrests targeted black people, even though just 8.7% of LA's population is black. So we know why Kevin De Leon supports it. Councilmembers Soto Martinez and Hernandez, I appreciate that you have opposed new enforcement zones. However, you need to repeal the special enforcement zones established by your predecessors. The Rampart Division in CD13 had the second most 4118 infractions last year, which was, Ugo, your first year in office. Speeches in committee meetings are not enough. Support your on-house constituents and use your political power now. I'd like to move on to my public comment.
You'll have 1 minute for public comment, general public comment.
Council must approve the Comptroller's pro bono legal counsel, especially considering the history of corruption in this council. Opposing investigation into a contracted private organization whose employees sprayed an unsheltered person with a hose on a cold January night is unconscionable, especially with Urban Alchemy's shady history. I'm asking the council to embrace accountability for once.
Adam from LA CAN's Human and Civil Rights Committee, starting with number 11. It's absolutely shameful that council members continue to put forth these 4118 zones and pretending that they do anything but exacerbate houselessness. It's telling that these are coming to council in the wake of the weak and obtuse 4118 report back that was clear never would have come out without community pressure from groups like LA CAN and others who do the constant invisible work of building relationships in our communities with and alongside those continuing to be impacted by the callous violence of city policies like 4118. Council members have and continue to work to excuse, sanitize, and expand this ordinance that is rooted in a legacy of anti-blackness, that is an outgrowth of lantern laws, black codes, and Jim Crow working to control the movements of folks deemed undesirable. Working with rather than against 4118 shows either a lack of understanding of these legacies or a refusal to reckon with them, and shows a disdain for houseless people, most specifically black houseless people who are disparately represented due to the types of structural racism policies like 4118 breathe life into. Predictably, the city's 4118 report back that these new resolutions are being presented in the wake of comes up really short. There's a lot to say about it, what is in the report, and even more to say what isn't. I will say today that for the resources this city has, and for all of the ways the original motion asked for department reports, putting this report out a year late and allowing LAPD to claim that this report, and I quote, evaluates 4118's impact on public safety while pretending that they and others can't disaggregate labor costs. This report back in motion shapes its evaluation of 4118 around resolution zones, not taking into account the myriad ways LAPD uses this racist Jim Crow law as a tool to threaten houseless people. The report states that in LAPD Central Division, in all of 2023, LAPD's use of 4118 was on 46 people, sold to us through number of citations and arrests. However, in a database made by LAPD reset officers in Skid Row, obtained through a public records request, it shows reset officers used 4118 in identifying and recording demographic and location info on over 100 individuals in just 2 months in just Skid Row last year. As this report back obfuscates the real impacts and costs of 4118, we continue to reject expansion of 4118 enforcement and continue to demand an independent hearing where all departments are required to share their findings, where community and groups like LA CAN are invited to present, and that all department reports purported to have contributed to this shitty report back are all shared publicly in their entirety.
I work with an organization called Palms and House Mutual Aid. We do care in primarily CD11 and CD5. And 4118 is a failed policy. The report you quietly released on Friday proves that. More people die on the streets in 1 day than you permanently housed in 3 years under 4118. That's disgusting. You should be filled with shame and embarrassed. Establishing new zones will only cause more displacement and harm. 4118 drains resources that could have been used to house people instead. You've spent $3 million on this law, with over $1 million going to post your stupid little fucking signs. If you're concerned about accessibility, why are you fencing off the entire sidewalk after you displace people? Please vote no on any future 4118 zones and appeal 4118 immediately. I'd now like to move on to general public comment.
You'll have 1 minute.
First of all, it really fucking sucks that you all are just sitting here and not even paying attention while your constituents are trying to speak to you about serious issues. It's just embarrassing. I demand that you approve the controller's lawyer so he can hold Urban Alchemy accountable for their inhumane actions. Spraying someone with a hose in January is fucked up. You need to hold them accountable. The organization is supposed to provide care for people, not subject them to hermothermic conditions. I'm sick of my tax dollars being spent to cause displacement, death, and harm. Which brings me to my final point. There's a genocide happening in Gaza. The city of LA must call for a permanent and lasting ceasefire and cut all ties with Israel. I yield the rest of my time. Thanks.
Hi, I'm here as someone who has lived in CD11 for a while to oppose the expansion of 4118 zones in CD11 and CD3, and to urge you to vote no on items 11, 12, and 13. 4118 is criminalization of poverty. It's been used to justify cops' targeting of our most vulnerable Angelenos, seniors, veterans, disabled folks, black and brown folks who are disproportionately represented in this city's unhoused population. Many of you claim to be progressive, and yet you're continually expanding police power to cite people for sitting down in public, for fuck's sake. 4118 is a continuation of racist, ableist, classist policies that only serve to harm, to placate the wealthy, and to uphold capitalist racism. Not only are we demanding that you not expand 4118 zones, we also demand that you repeal 4118, because at this point, doing nothing would be more helpful than pursuing 4118. I'd like to move on to public comment.
You'll have 1 minute.
I'm here to say that the city of Los Angeles must stop the sweeps of encampments. Even before the report that came out last week that you all tried to hide, we knew, and it's been empirically shown repeatedly, that sweeps are expensive, illogical, and counterproductive. That the city continues to do them is absolutely unconscionable. From Echo Park to Venice Boulevard, we know that encampment sweeps are violent, destructive, do nothing to address houselessness by any metric, tend to kill and harm more people than they shelter, because shelter is not housing. And on top of that, they're expensive as fuck for the city. You're paying city workers and cops to stand around for hours while they steal and destroy people's property and homes, traumatizing folks repeatedly without any resources to offer, and violating their due process tens of times a week. Any proposed solution to address houselessness has to start with stopping all sweeps. Stop stealing people's property. Stop stealing people's RVs and vehicles. Without this step, the city is just perpetuating the death machine.
My name is Carla Orndorff. I'm speaking against Bob Blumenfield and Tracy Park's 4118 resolutions that would ban me and my husband from sitting, lying, and sleeping on Cantelay Street in Reseda, where we currently live in our RV. I have lived in this neighborhood for 30 years. I share meals with my neighbors. We care for each other. We give each other rides to the doctor when we aren't well. We share our dreams and our futures. When we talked to our neighbors who lived here, none of them had any knowledge that you were doing this. They were saddened, disappointed, disgusted, but not surprised. They asked, where will they go, and will they be arrested? While you waste our time applauding the 5 Latinos that serve on the city council, it is 5 Latinos you will be removing from our neighborhood with this 4118 resolution. Your progress is a lie. I have never given public comment before, but I do know I am worth more than this worthless law. Bob has big plans to make Reseda great again. I'm here today to say that there is nothing to be proud of passing a law that targets and criminalizes people for survival. You are responsible for the laws that you create. You are responsible for the consequences, and we are the consequence. Tony Goodwin died 3 days after 4118 was passed in Imelda Padilla's district. Terry Mason Kendrick had a stroke. Angeline Green Eyes Swan died in a 4118 zone after being kicked out of her motel for not checking in after 3 days because she was in a coma. Salma Victoria Urias died of an overdose after her blankets had been thrown away. Our friends write signed under duress as desperate acts of protest when cited for 4118. You can pass another resolution, but your greed and your arrogance against elders, mothers, families living in RVs, and the poor is starting to turn. May those who died at the hands of 4118 forever rest in peace, and may the era of 4118 be brought to an end. I know my worth as a human being, and it's worth more than this worthless law. And I know the worth of my community, and it is worth far more than a worthless law. I know the worth of those who do not understand my worth, fear me, and seek to remove me from public space. And I know your worth too. These laws, they hide us farther and farther away from what is actually needed to solve our real problems. Every politician who pursued 4118 in their careers should be dragged out as a kindness. They shouldn't be allowed to show face, and yet here you are today. You got dressed and you came ready to criminalize us. 4118 equals death. I dare you to vote for it. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Thanks for hearing me out today. I'm here today to emphatically urge you to vote no on any motions to establish new 4118 zones. Firstly, I want to remind you once again that there is clear proven evidence and data showing that 4118 is not effective in housing people. This is data straight from reports published by City Council, LAHSA, and the Chief Legislative Analyst's Office. So this is data that you should already be well aware of. And the data from these sources show that so far, more than $3 million taxpayer dollars have been spent on enforcing 4118, and as already mentioned, only 2 people have been placed in permanent housing as a result. Instead of housing anyone, we've made over 1,000 arrests and given out over 2,000 citations and counting. And despite this evidence, we continue to sink taxpayer dollars into 4118 and punish people who are struggling to survive every single day instead of actually helping them in any sustainable ways. But I know that for me and many others, I don't need hard evidence to know that 4118 is ineffective. And it's not only ineffective, but it's actively destroying people's lives. Because how do you expect anyone who's on the streets to find housing if they're constantly in fear of being cited and arrested? Being unhoused is already extremely traumatic, and how do you think punishing them further through the threat of criminalization is going to help them get off the streets? I currently live in CD14, but for a while I lived in the San Fernando Valley, where I met some of the people who are going to be affected by these new zones that you're voting on. And I can tell you that these people that I've met are some of the most compassionate people that I've ever encountered. And I've learned so much from them as a housed person. And I encourage you to open your hearts to them because you have the power to seriously impact these people's lives in a way that you can't even imagine. And nobody living in these zones deserves what has already happened to them as a result of this horrendous legislation, 4118, that has been passed under your eyes. If you have any empathy or compassion in your hearts, if you truly want to house people, if you care at all about your constituents, and yes, unhoused people are your constituents, you will vote no to pass any new 4118 zones and any future motions to pass new 4118 zones. Thank you.
I, like many others here, believe that homelessness is one of the great moral failures of our time, one that can only be solved by permanent supportive housing. And those of you who continue to pursue a strategy of criminalization are indeed guilty of complete moral failure. But I think that we do ourselves a disservice when we oppose these motions solely on moral grounds. I don't oppose 4118 and this motion solely on moral grounds. I oppose it on economic grounds, I oppose it on policy grounds, I oppose it on political grounds. Perhaps there are homeowners, property owners, small businesses, if they still exist actually, who incorrectly believe that the only things protecting them from the unwashed masses are motions like these. The city's report proves that this is not the case. They must understand, and you can make them understand, that this law and these motions will not provide the outcomes that they are looking for. No matter how much you might fear and despise the poor, because that is what homelessness and homeless people are. They are not criminals, they are criminalized for their poverty. But what you fear does not matter, because what the poor are telling you is the truth. 4118 will not help people, but it also will not get rid of people. It will not make the city cleaner. It will not protect property values. Only permanent, supportive housing will do that. To fix the root conditions that perpetuate homelessness makes sense. To try to do this through a doomed-to-fail 4118 strategy makes no sense. It makes no sense morally. It makes no sense economically. The only sense it makes is the political sense of a small, out-of-touch government run by an extremely narrow set of special interests. Those special interests are, of course, powerful and real. But this report, and to reject motions like these, is an opportunity to change the calculus of these interests and move towards something better, not because it is moral, not only because it is moral, but because it is something real. Thank you.
You know, a couple years ago, Mike Bonin was around this horseshoe and warned you, quote, "You are going to be discussing 4118 like a nightmare Groundhog Day for years and years to come." And here we are again. The 4118 report was interesting. My Councilmember Hernandez, your district was pretty high up on that list for enforcement of 4118, and Gil got suspended from the council pretty quickly after that came into effect. It's great to vote against these things, but when are you going to actually move to remove 4118 zones that Gil put in your district? Because around my house where I walk all the time, I remember the 4118 debate where Bob, Mitch, and Nuri were talking about ADA, accessibility, strollers having to go in the street, wheelchairs. But right next to your 4118 zones, because they're yours now, there are trees, branches blocking the ability for people to walk there. Multiple times where people have to walk into the street. There was like almost a whole year last year where people walking on Avenue 60 had to go into the street because there were bushes overgrown. There was literally 10 inches for people to walk on your fucking sidewalks. So, I want to just thank Adam Smith and everybody from LA Can who got us that report, which came not from council, but from relentless pressure on this council. We have 2 people getting housed, 3,200 getting cited and arrested. When we had that conversation on 4118, you were talking about, we're not trying to criminalize poverty. Well, what is that? You say, oh, this isn't a housing policy, that's a separate thing. 4118 doesn't happen in a vacuum. What happens when you sweep people, take their stuff, undermine trust? You really hated the way that they pressured you to get that report, but that was necessary. It's an illustrative of an important point for everybody that doesn't wield lethal power in these halls. We can work with you to arrive at consensus policy changes, or if that fails, we must be ready to ruthlessly shame you into doing slightly better. It isn't pretty, and it might not be constructive, but that's the only way to force a slight improvement. There is no consistent strategy with 4118, and that is indicative by CD 11 and 12 just running up the charts. Neither of them, in particular, Stafford B, not doing enough to build actual housing. We have a recent story about planters popping up in CD 11 at a Home Depot. Questions on the extent to which they were cooperating with that. We had protests the other day, and you used 4118 to sweep the Gaza protesters when a block away you didn't touch those tents. It just seems like there is no consistency in these chambers. For my general public comment, no surprise to see Councilmember Rahman voting the right way yesterday, but I never thought I'd be so happy to cheer on a voting block that includes Councilmember Lee, Blumenfield, Rodriguez, and Padilla. But hell is frozen over, and I just want to say thank you. Amazing that council expansion needs 4 years to be studied and needs to wait 10 years to be implemented, but in a month, you wanted to jam this through with zero public input. This past weekend, I was thinking about giving my council member the Nuri treatment, making an example of her, but I felt bad. This was going to be debated by the commission. Was it really worth burning bridges this early? Well, another unfortunate lesson of these halls that's been drilled into me is that as much as you got to give people the benefit of the doubt, you have to assume the absolute worst beyond your imagination. And unfortunately, you just keep on reminding me how goddamn true that is.
Thank you. Next speaker.
And then don't interrupt me no more, please. Thank you. I have been housed under a special Stay House program. The mayor says during her running, everybody is housed under different programs. And I'm housed under a Stay House program under mental health, capital L, capital A, capital M, capital P. Now, for the last 7 years, who has not protected me from getting in contact with everybody probably in this building and have not got a response back, especially from Captain Daley Harn's office. I live in his district. Again, I reported to my advisor at Section 8, reported to my case manager at People's Concern. When are you gonna start putting some educated people in the building to assist the people that's been unfalsely evicted from their apartments? That's why you got a lot of people outhoused. It took 1.5 years for the manager of my building to realize I'm not the one evicting me out of my apartment and I'm a Stay House program. Who was supposed to advocate for me? Took him a year and a half on a lie. This is my point. You need to investigate
I'm sorry,
why
your
the
time has expired. Yes, it is. I'm sorry, your time has expired. Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Speaker, which items would you like to speak on?
General public comment.
You'll have 1 minute.
This is to ask you if you can help with 6th and San Pedro with extra trash pickup. There's pickup in the morning, and between the morning and 6 and 8, the trash accumulates to a greater extent. And I'm wondering if you can help with that trash pickup for 1 hour, 7 days a week, Monday through Sunday, to alleviate what's done in the morning doesn't help with what accumulates in the evening from 6 to 8. I'm asking you if you can help with that greater trash pickup between 6 and 8 o'clock in the evening, 7 days a week.
Thank you.
It'll help greatly if you would do that.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Yes.
Which items would you like to speak on?
Yes, thank you, DEI Hire. All items on general comment.
You'll have 3 minutes for the items and 1 minute for general public comment.
Yeah, starting with CD3. Bob, you piece of fucking shit. Look at this. Cantley Street shithole, Geyser Avenue shithole, and Craps Avenue. What a fucking dirty, filthy place. It's called Reseda, everybody. It's Bob's personal trash can. Filthy, dirty sidewalks, homeless criminals everywhere, broken sidewalks. John Lee sometimes has to drive through there, and he rolls his windows up and has to hold his nose as he goes between Tarzana and that filthy Reseda, right? It's a fucking shithole. I'm calling on John Lee to intervene and take over this situation because his district looks nice and clean. Goat Puppet supports 4118. Goat Puppet, with the help of Tracy Park, wrote it. What? Because I'm evil like her. Speaking of the great one, CD11. Yes, Tracy Park has now finally responded to Goat Puppet's numerous voicemails. Thank you for emancipating Rose Avenue, Elm Avenue, Stoner Park, San Vicente Boulevard, Lake Street, and Beatrice Street. Now it will be free from homeless garbage and filth, drug needles, prostitution, stolen property, probation violations. Yes. I would only ask Tracy do one favor. There's a trailer with a little goat on the side. If you would just allow that, that's where I make my side business. I'd appreciate that. And then number 13. Again, we're going to go back. No, we're on number 14. Where the fuck are we? Yes, now we get to number 14. For some reason, there's big print here. Federal legislative programs for TPS for Guatemalan. Yes, I talked to Kevin about this. Unisys wouldn't talk to me about it. I don't know why. Why does Unisys hate Guatemalans? I don't understand this. But thanks to Kevin, he wants to give TPS to Guatemalans. Let's give him a hand. Oh, yeah. That. Yes, that's right. And as you see, Unisys isn't the liberal pro-immigration lady you think she is, because she only applies that to Mexico, but she doesn't like Central Americans. Goat Puppet supports the Central Americans, especially those that speak Quiche, because as Kevin knows, they discriminate and terrorize Indian people, Indian-speaking people. We would also like Kevin to support and put this motion and urge the immigration courts in the country to grant amnesty to all of Goat Puppet's nominated cases that he'll be giving you. And now for the general comment. Bob, you dumb shit. You stupid ass motherfucker, Bob Liebenblood, accuses a dog breeder of being a Nazi. Yes, that's right. He called Aldahorst a racist name. It's a hotel. It's a hotel in Austria. It's also the name of a park. There are many, many nice names that are called Aldahorst. It was not a Nazi bunker like Bob says. But you see, Bob's doing what they typically do. He's having a conversation and pretending he's not hearing me. But he hears me well. And I also emailed him proof of this. Bob, you owe an apology to the Aldahorst International Breeders that you slandered their good name. They have nothing to do with Hitler. But in honor of what Bob said, we will give a Nazi salute so he knows the difference. Heil Hitler! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Now you know the difference, stupid. It's not a drug breeder.
Speaker, your time has expired. And for anyone who is here in the council chambers or who is listening remotely, please keep in mind that the views expressed by the previous speaker or any speaker do not reflect. Mr. Herman, I am trying to make an announcement. Please do not interrupt. This is your first and only warning. So, the views expressed by the speaker do not reflect the views of this council or this city. They have to be allowed to speak during their public comment or their general public comment.
Mr. Spindler, be quiet. You've had your time to speak. You'll be silent for the rest of the meeting or you'll leave.
This thing is all around terrible that you guys are looking to use 4118 as a scapegoat when you could have done the work and got these people off the streets. You want to limit people's public speaking to 1 day a week. You don't listen to the people anyway. You guys already vote on things. Last time you guys had a quorum, you had 10 people in there and 14 people voted. I'm trying to figure out how that's possible.
Speaker, you're not speaking to the agenda item. We can move you on to general public comment.
4118 is all 11, 12, and 13. The idea that you guys allow the city attorneys don't listen to nobody other than they speak against the city districts. You talk about Figueroa Street. But now, unless there's a camera there, you're gonna want to do stop the prostitution then. So please give me insight to how you guys are not proactive, but managers. You guys don't do anything unless there's a camera there or public notification. Help these people have a solution so you don't have to go through this embarrassment that they're calling you out. You guys are all on your phones or talking to each other, but you don't listen to the public.
You're now on your
So
general
how do
public
you
comment.
earn your monies other than your own public interest? Now let's go to public comment.
Your time is
So
running for general
26.
public comment.
Okay, general public comment.
Yes, go ahead.
Dominic Choi said that he was going to go ahead and get rid of these corrupt police officers. Podesta should be the first one to go. He's training an officer 7 months out of the academy, and he's corrupt. 4 body cam footages, yet his higher up, like 85% of them, found nothing wrong with him violating 3 amendments. So if he's really about this, let's see if it's true, Dominic. I gave you the date, December 8th, 2023, in front of City Hall. Do something about this. Let's see if you are about that. Or else you're going to have 1992.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
To those that care and want a city that has integrity, when we fly flags and say, yes, you are welcome here, vote no. To those that can at least acknowledge that this is an ineffective system at best, vote no on these expansions. Fight for equitable budgets, reappropriate funds from truly wasteful programs and projects. Do not be a bystander. Please do something and bring about justice for our unhoused community members. I'd like to move to my general public comment.
You'll have 1 minute.
Approve the attorney. Thank you. Approve the attorney for the public controller to investigate Urban Alchemy's harm brought on the unhoused community. Additionally, please pass this resolution for an immediate ceasefire, an immediate end to the siege on Gaza, the freedom of all Palestinian prisoners, all hostages, and an end to the occupation of Palestine. Free Palestine. And Kevin De Leon, you shouldn't get to sit in this body and in front of us constituents without accountability. It has been literal years now. You are not fit to serve. Sorries aren't enough when they are not accompanied by atonement. You will not prevail in November because we see through career politicians like you. And to echo Carla to close this out, may all who have perished due to 4118 rest in power and peace. You deserved better. You deserved more. May all those who are currently being oppressed by 4118 know that you are loved, that you are worthy. May there be an end to 4118 because 4118 equals death. Thank you.
Did you call the scarecrow? I want to speak on all motherfucking items because I
There's one item, Mr. Herman. If you signed up under one of the names that I just called, go ahead with 1 minute. Stick to the agenda.
You said Miss Butts.
Okay, you're off topic. Speak to the agenda or sit down.
I want to update the related issues regarding the California nonprofit versus Mejia versus against the city of Los Angeles for retaliation because Mr. Mejia wants to subpoena you criminals and your activity that are criminal and you fucking bastards. No offense, Bob, but the city of Downey has a bastard restaurant. And you know what you did to the little doggies. Ruff, ruff, ruff. But going back to the City of Los Angeles Municipal Corporation regarding the Superior Court case number, for the record, you jackass attorney, 24 STOPO1263, you cunts need to address Mr. Mejia. We only need one person
Thank you.
run.
Next speaker, please. Have a seat, Mr. Herman. You're done. Have a seat. You're done. Have a seat, Mr. Herman. You're done. You're disrupting the meeting. Mr. Herman is disrupting the meeting. He's ordered excluded pursuant to Rule 12. Next speaker, please.
Speaker, you'll have 1 minute for the item.
Mr. Herman is continuing to disrupt the meeting and delay public comment. Mr. Herman, please leave the meeting immediately and quietly. You've been ordered excluded under Rule 12. Hurry up. Take a walk. Have a nice day. Sorry, sir. 1 moment, please. Herman, get out. All right.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
Good morning again. Terrence C. Daniels, registered and voting member of CD 13. I come to you to make comment on your special agenda item, urban alchemy. Now, I look over the need for
Sorry,
agencies.
Speaker. Mr. Herman continues to interrupt this meeting. Mr. Herman, you've been ordered to leave the room.
Can you please start the speaker's time over again, and we'll start it when Mr. Herman is out. Okay, thank you. Sorry, you may start over, sir.
No worries. Terrence C. Daniels, registered and voting member of CD 13. First of all, it's good to actually speak to this council and see people in their seats and pretend to be attentive. I come to you to speak to you about urban alchemy and any agency that was created for the purpose of restoring human dignity and humanity to the constituents in which we put you in these seats to serve. Well, a little bit of what I've been experiencing, and it goes into homelessness and urban alchemy, is I've been deprived inalienable rights, aka my civil liberties. And that's guaranteed by the same document, the Constitution, both of the United States and of the state of California. So before you continue to deprive residents and constituents like myself and members that this agency, Urban Alchemy, is supposed to serve of our humanity and our civil liberties, be reminded that that same Constitution is the Constitution that guarantees you the right to legislate and enforce any laws. So until you return and restore our civil liberties and our human dignity, no business gets done in this chamber.
Thank you very much.
You don't have a legislature.
Thank you very much. Your time has expired, sir. Thank you very much. Your time has expired. Thank you. Okay. Please, sir, please don't disrupt the meeting. Your time has expired. You've had your chance to speak. You've had your chance to speak. Please be quiet while our next speaker comes forward. No, it's okay. I didn't call Mr. Spindler. It's whoever signed up on this item. You're not on, but come on up, Mr. Gus. You're not signed up for number 6, but come on up.
I signed up at the same
Just
time
go ahead
I
and
signed up
speak.
for the other reasons.
I just gave you your minute. Start speaking.
Don't lie to the public about
Start speaking
comments.
on the agenda.
I am. Point of order, city attorney.
No points of order. Speak to the agenda.
Corruption in this item is not unlike corruption throughout this building. I signed up for this item at the same time
You're
I signed
still
up for
not
the
on
others.
topic.
I'm talking about corruption. You have to let the public make its points in its own way.
I'm sorry. You're just
Yeah.
refusing to speak to the
I am
agenda. Your
trying
time has
to speak.
expired, Mr. Gus.
You are
Mr.
taking my
Sachs,
time.
Did you want to speak on this item, Mr. Sachs? I'm sorry, Mr. Gus. Your time has expired. You're disrupting the meeting by not speaking to the agenda. Thank you. Thank you.
City attorney, do you want an ADA complaint?
Mr. Gus, you're disrupting the meeting. You are actively disrupting the meeting.
Are you throwing me out?
Not yet. If you stop talking, I won't. Okay, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Sachs, come on. Do you have to go around the Cape Horn or something here? Come on.
You'll have 1 minute for the item.
Yes, thank you. Arnold Sachs. I believe this item refers to a court case. If I'm correct about that. Let me just double check. Oh, it is a court case. The Urban Alchemy Incorporated, a California nonprofit corporation, v. Kenneth Mejia, in his official capacity as controller of the city of Los Angeles, which is good. I'm imagining that's L period A period. Because I'd just like to point out, I don't know who the city attorney was at the 8/5/2022 meeting that was held in city council, but they had a court case here, New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Brune, B-R-E-U-N. I have it right here. And then on the other page, it says New York State Rifle and Pistol Association Incorporated v. Brune. So
Thank
which
you.
is it? Is
Thank you
VS
very
or
much.
V-
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Your time's expired. Let's go to Mr. Sachs. Your time's expired. Let's go to the next. Let's go to the phones. We'll take.